Welcome back. Our next guest is considered to be one of the most successful CEOs in the world. She is consistently ranked among the world's most 100 powerful women, and she's the first woman of color and immigrant to run a Fortune 50 company.
In 2006, Indra Nooyi was named CEO of PepsiCO, becoming one of America's few female leaders. She revolutionized the company, doubling sales and introducing healthier practices. Now she's sharing all the lessons she learned from her life at the top in her new book, My Life in Full. We are so thrilled to have her here with us today. Indra, welcome. Your book begins in India, where you were born, and despite growing up in a conservative country where most girls were expected to marry before the age of 18, your parents didn't put an emphasis on finding a husband. And instead, you credit them for giving you the wings to fly and chase your dreams. I love it. So, how did they help catapult your journey to success?
I think I am a product of my upbringing. And my family played a huge part in my life, especially in my early formative days when the men in our family said the women should be educated as much as the boys. And there's no question of them not being allowed to dream big and soar. So both my father and my grandfather, who were big figures in the family, basically said, we're going to put one foot on the accelerator and let these daughters do whatever they want. And my poor mother, who had one foot on the accelerator, one foot on the brake, the accelerator because she wanted to live her life vicariously through the daughters. But society said she's got to make sure that the daughters get married around age 18. So she had this foot on the accelerator and foot on the brake. But the combination of my father, grandfather, and my mother's foot on the accelerator, I think, won out.
Aisha and I are both listening very carefully as we're both parents. And obviously, you
Oh.
want to instill in your children a great work ethic. And yours literally jumps off the page right from your start in studying in Calcutta to, of course, leading the largest food and beverage company in North America. You reveal in the book the secrets to your success. And spoiler alert, it really comes down to hard work and dedication. And I love that. Take us through that framework, because a lot of times people just think it's luck and happenstance.
Well, I think the place where I did have luck is where I was born. And, the fact that I was born into this family that was so progressive and worried about women's education as much as they did about the men. And I was very lucky to meet my husband, just a prince of a man and marry into a great family. So those two were luck. The rest of it is just hard work. And I have to tell you, unlike most people that think about hard work as drudgery and as a chore, I love the hard work. In fact, I thrive on hard work. I thrive on new adventures, thrive on taking on difficult challenges and addressing them. So to me, it felt like another adventure, another peeling of the onion to find out what was inside it. So I looked at this as just job after job. My brain was expanding, my knowledge was expanding, I was making a difference. So I was actually thriving in this hard work environment.
And you, even in your hard work, you woke up every hour in the night to answer emails.
That's a sick habit. Don't ever, ever, ever follow that. I'm telling you, have a good night's sleep, okay? But beyond that, when I was running PepsiCo, for some reason, I felt like because the rest of the world was already on in the middle of the night here in the US, I had to be on too. I had to respond to emails if they were urgent. And I've got this genetic malfunction where I can't sleep well. So the combination of the two just resulted in me answering emails when they came in. I would not recommend that to anybody.
You write in the book, I didn't think it was odd to be in meetings with dozens of men and no other women. So you're talking about your time. You were named CEO of PepsiCo. At what point did you realize how significant it was to not only be a woman in that room, but a woman of color and an immigrant in this space that really, really has long prioritized the voices and energy of white men?
It's interesting. For most of my life, I was the only woman in the level that I was in. And so you sort of get used to the fact that you're the only woman. The only thing that you've got to do constantly is earn a place for yourself at that table. Because in my mind, whether the others thought about it or not, I thought people were looking at me kind of weird, saying, why is she here? How can she contribute? What can she tell us that's intelligent? So I put myself in a hole. Others didn't. I put myself in a hole. And I felt I had to dig myself out of it. And that caused me to over prepare, overanalyze, be really a master of my subject so I could really make a meaningful contribution to the company.
As remarkable as it is to be a trailblazer, there's also an immense amount of pressure that comes with being first. Um, so what did that pressure feel like for you, and how did you manage it? Do you have any, like, funny things that you do to escape?
Well, the pressure came because as the first early women of color as CEO, even women running a Fortune 50 company, you get invited to every event. And if you didn't show, they start saying things like, "Oh, she's too big for her boots," or "She thinks she's not good enough for us." So you end up at least making an appearance. A lot of diverse people wanted me to show up at their events. And the Indian diaspora is huge. They wanted me to show up at events for them. So every which way I got pulled to be present and talk to people and give them advice and share my experiences with them. And any group I said no to, I could see the disappointment or I could see the feelings of rejection. They're very, very obvious. And so these are the advantages and disadvantages of being among the first to ascend to this position and be somebody so different in these jobs.
So now we're talking about you being the CEO and a trailblazer, but long before you were the CEO, as you climbed up those corporate ranks, graduating from Yale University, throughout your entire career, if I've got this right, you've never asked for a raise. Why?
I was paid well, so let's not kid around about this. I was paid well. The fact that I was an immigrant person of color at the senior management ranks of big companies, I was just happy to be in the room. And I just put my head down and worked. And I would say most of my life, I was paid very well and I was paid very fairly. So there was no reason for me to go and ask for a raise. There was one incident where I saw other people getting stock options. I didn't get it. And I wondered why, but I never bothered to go and ask because at that time, there was nobody else like me I could consult. But today I will tell you, if any woman faces any sort of pay disparity, she has to speak up. Our human resources departments should be looking at this constantly and raising this issue and fixing it. A woman shouldn't have to find out and go and ask for it. That's the role of HR.
As Cynthia mentioned, we're all moms here today. And one of the biggest challenges you talked about was juggling the role of motherhood and CEO. And you say in your book that you don't believe in balance. Can you tell us why?
Because balance means everything is just in equilibrium and it's all fine. It isn't. There are days when the work needs you more, other days the family needs you more. So even during the day, sometimes you're prioritizing. When you think you've got your whole day planned out, there's some crisis in school or a kid comes home with a sore throat. So everything is one big juggling act. I will tell you one thing. There's one thing COVID did for all of us. The only good thing is it advanced technology and it changed the mindset of people as it relates to hybrid and flexible working. Had I grown up in an environment where technology was so advanced, and had I been CEO at a time when we had all of these remote tools and hybrid working and flexible working was acceptable, I could have traveled less. I could have gone home about 3:30, taken my kids off the bus, spent some time with them, and then continued working later on when they were doing their homework. I didn't have those luxuries. There was no technology at that time. So everything required face-to-face personal interactions. That's the only way you could really connect with people. So I'm a product of a different generation, different time, when we had to get on a plane and be in the office. So I'm very optimistic about what the future holds for young family builders like you. Let's use this moment to think about future of work differently. What is the role of the office? What's the role of working from home? Should we go to a co-working space so we also have peace while we work? Should there be childcare attached to co-working spaces? How is this future of work going to evolve? And that's why I say, when we think about future of work, let's bring families, women, and young family builders into the center of the discussion as opposed to staying on the fringe. Because whether we're talking about getting people back or not is all going to be dependent on How do we want families to thrive? How do we reduce the stress on young family builders? How do we make women not carry so much of the burden? These are all the discussions that need to be had, that must be had by people in power.
Indra, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and sharing your stories with us today. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to meeting you all in person sometime.
We really hope so.
That's
For
great.
everyone watching at home, the book is called My Life in Full. It is available now. Go get yourself a copy and don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.